Nothing hurt quite as much as watching her dress for another man. She slipped into satin lingerie and thigh-high stockings, took extra care with her makeup, and then put on a revealing red dress I'd never seen before, finishing the look with high heels that transformed her into someone I barely recognized. A storm of betrayal, jealousy, and fury brewed inside me. She wasn't getting dolled up for me, but rather for Oliver James, her boss. While I worked non-stop to give her a comfortable life and raise a family, she was busy becoming irresistible for him. It felt completely unreal. Our marriage had lasted a solid 2 decades, 20 whole years. Megan used to be loving and attentive, never once giving me any reason to suspect her faithfulness. I honestly believed she would never hurt me. But about a month ago, at a dinner for her firm, I realized something was off. Oliver, a high-ranking partner at her law office in Eastvale, was far too focused on Megan. When he smirked at me after sharing a dance with her, my gut churned with warning. The following day, I confronted Megan. She immediately jumped to Oliver's defense, accusing me of overreacting. That made me even more suspicious. Suddenly, all the missed lunches and late nights had red flags all over them. The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. Megan was Oliver's personal assistant. He was the flashy, wealthy type. Arrogant, with fancy sports cars, a closet full of designer suits, and a trophy wife nearly half his age. From everything I'd heard, he had divorced his first spouse after 20 years so he could marry that 30-year-old. Something about Oliver always rubbed me the wrong way. He loved belittling others, and I could never forget the night he taunted me in front of my wife and her colleagues. "So, Ben," he said, "how's the 9 to 5 at the hardware store? Must be thrilling selling nuts and bolts every day." He chuckled, and Megan actually laughed along. That cut me to the core. I might not have a fancy position, but I still pulled in more than $200,000 a year, provided a great life for my family, and helped fund my daughter Ella's college tuition. But in Oliver's mind, that just wasn't enough. I'd stormed off in anger. Megan chased after me to ask what was wrong. When I told her, she dismissed it. "Oh, come on, he's joking. He loves teasing people. You shouldn't take it so seriously. He's really a good guy." I should have paid more attention to the warning bells. Oliver had everything: fortune, power, a younger wife. But people like him always want more, and I strongly suspected he had his sights set on Megan. I refused to sit back and pretend it was fine. A week later, I launched a plan. I purchased 6 small audio recorders and 5 high-definition cameras. One camera was installed inside the smoke detector in our bedroom. The rest were hidden in places guaranteed to capture every possible angle. More cameras went in the bathroom and living room. The recorders themselves were hidden in her favorite purses, in her car, and next to our kitchen phone. Everything streamed live to a computer stashed in the attic, and I could access it from my phone. By the time I was done, I was confident I'd see or hear at least 90% of what happened in my house. I had a looming business trip, just 2 nights, but I couldn't shake a bad feeling. Megan, as always, showered me with affection before I left. We made love with intense passion, like we often did whenever I was about to travel for work. She whispered how much she adored me, how deeply she wanted me. But this time, I wasn't convinced. The warmth and affection that had once been my anchor now felt tainted. "I love you so much," she said softly, tears glistening in her eyes. "Being with you like this means the world to me." I murmured, "I love you, Megan." "I always will," telling myself that doubt was silly. For a moment, I almost talked myself into dismantling the entire surveillance setup. Thankfully, I didn't. I left everything in place and hit the road, kissing her goodbye around dinner time. My drive to the hotel took about 3 hours, and I checked in just after 9 p.m. Settling onto the bed, I opened my laptop, skimmed through work emails, and then clicked on the home surveillance software. I didn't really expect to find anything so soon. I mostly wanted to test that all the devices were working. Fast-forwarding the last few hours of footage, I spotted Megan heading into our bedroom. I resumed normal playback. She was lying on the bed, talking on the phone. At first, I was just admiring her, until I heard the conversation. "Hey, babe. Ben's gone and I have the place to myself. This time he's gone for 2 nights. When can you come over?" Are you sure your wife won't suspect anything? Oh, this is perfect. Stay the night. I want to wake up with you. You know I love you." I froze. Just an hour earlier, she and I had shared a deeply intimate moment before I left. And now she was inviting another man to our home, our bed. It felt like a nightmare. How could she treat me that way? Did she genuinely love me one moment and flip a switch for him the next? Was her lover really coming over? I soon found out. Over the next hour, I watched Megan preparing for him in explicit detail. Showering, slipping into seductive underwear, doing her hair, doing her makeup, and stepping into high heels, things I'd rarely seen her do for me. It twisted my stomach in knots. On some level, it was a mesmerizing transformation. I'd always known she was beautiful, but seeing her go to such lengths for someone else felt like a knife to the heart. I still clung to a slim hope that maybe the guy wouldn't show up. But then the doorbell rang and Megan opened it. Oliver sauntered in, wearing that same smug grin I'd witnessed at the firm's dinner party. In front of my hidden camera, he leaned in and kissed her passionately. My stomach churned, and I barely made it to the bathroom before throwing up. "Oh, wow, baby," he said, eyeing her. "You look unbelievably sexy. I can't wait to peel that dress off and have you all to myself." His words made me seethe, but the real agony was in watching Megan lead him to our bedroom. I forced myself to watch the feed, though it nearly destroyed me. He was in excellent shape, the kind of gym-sculpted man women swoon over. I felt a surge of rage and jealousy. My brain screamed at me to turn it off, but I didn't. I watched everything. Their moans, the words they whispered, the unmistakable betrayal. Then came their pillow talk. Oliver spoke first. "So, he's really away for 2 nights?" Megan let out a contented sigh. "Yes, the house is ours until Thursday. I've dreamed of waking up next to you for so long. I love this." Oliver laughed softly. "You give me more than I've ever gotten from my wife. This is more than a fling. I adore what we have, Megan." Hearing that was gut-wrenching. The love she once expressed only for me was now on display with him. I continued watching. They kissed, cuddled, and whispered that they wanted more time together. At one point, Oliver asked, "Does your husband satisfy you the way I do?" Megan hesitated, then answered, "He's good to me. But no, not the way you do it. It's just different." I could take no more. I slammed my laptop shut, heart racing, vision blurred by tears of anger and heartbreak. I lay awake the entire night, tormented by what I'd seen. My mind was spinning with sorrow, betrayal, and fury. But I knew one thing. I wasn't going to be the only one suffering. When I got home 2 days later, the house felt oddly normal, familiar, or comfortable. Megan welcomed me at the door with a big hug and kiss, acting like she was thrilled I was back. It was as if the betrayal had never happened. For me, though, everything had changed. I felt nothing but revulsion. Yet I pretended to be my regular self, giving her no clue that I knew anything. I secretly compiled every recording, labeled it, backed it up to multiple locations, and encrypted all the files. For the next 2 weeks, I kept Megan occupied. I filled the calendar with dinners, outings, home projects, anything to monopolize her free hours so she couldn't slip away with Oliver or plan anything suspicious. She quickly became restless. The final confirmation came one morning when I checked her in-car audio. I heard her talking to him on the way to work. "When is he traveling again?" "I'll find out and let you know as soon as I can. I miss you so much." That settled it. I decided to plan a short business trip just to see if Oliver would bite. I arranged the whole scenario. That evening, while we lounged on the sofa pretending to watch a movie, Megan asked casually, "Hey, babe, do you have any work trips coming up?" It took everything in me not to snap. I forced a playful grin. "Why? Are you trying to get rid of me? You wouldn't be hiding a secret boyfriend who visits when I'm out of town, right?" She rolled her eyes. "Don't be silly. You know I hate when you're gone. I'm just hoping you won't have to leave again anytime soon." "Sorry, honey," I said, as though I regretted it. "I actually do have an overnight client meeting next Tuesday and won't be back until Wednesday afternoon." She feigned disappointment, then climbed onto my lap and kissed me passionately, the same way she'd no doubt kissed Oliver. I went along with it, already certain about my plan. When Tuesday arrived, I packed a travel bag, gave Megan a prolonged kiss goodbye, our final time being intimate, and headed out to the airport. Except I didn't go anywhere near an airport. Instead, I parked in my office lot. That wasn't unusual, so no one questioned me being there after hours. I monitored my surveillance feed, and sure enough, around 7:30 p.m., Oliver strutted into my house like he owned the place, pulling Megan into a heated embrace. It was time. I disabled my phone's GPS and left it locked in a drawer, ensuring there was no digital footprint. Slipping out of the building, I retrieved a foldable electric bike from my trunk. This thing was near silent, could travel around 30 mph, and had a solid 50-mile battery range. Perfect for a stealth approach. 15 minutes later, I reached my own backyard, where I'd left the patio door unlatched. Quietly, I stepped inside. I could hear the sounds from upstairs. Laughter, moaning, everything. My heart pounded as I pulled an aluminum bat from a closet and grabbed a short-barreled weapon I'd stashed near the bedroom. Their moans drowned out the sound of me coming in. I raised the bat. The second I entered the master suite, Oliver was too engrossed to even see me. I swung once. The impact knocked him off balance and he hit the floor with a dull thud. I set down my bag, flicked on the overhead light, and stared at them. Megan gasped, eyes wide with horror, clutching the sheets around herself. "Oh my God! Ben, what are you doing here? You were supposed to be gone till tomorrow." I stared at her coldly. Right. The real question is why there's another man in my bed. Oliver groaned, dazed, pressing a hand to his head. He propped himself against the wall, confusion morphing into panic as he realized the situation. "Damn," he muttered. "That hurts. What is wrong with you, man?" I barked back. "You're honestly asking that? You sneak into my house, sleep with my wife, and wonder why I'm pissed?" He swallowed hard. "Look, just calm down," I sneered. "Oh, I seem scary to you now? That's too bad." Megan, trembling, sank into the pillows. "Please, Ben, don't do anything crazy. I love you, I swear." "You do?" I hissed. "Then maybe you shouldn't have had him in our bed. But hey, you wanted excitement, right?" They both realized how bad the situation was. They could see the blind rage in my eyes, and they knew that if they tried to call for help, it might go south fast. I had no intention of murdering anyone, but they didn't know that. My short-barreled rifle was loaded with custom rounds that were part salt, part pepper-based irritants. The effect was brutally painful, but not fatal, assuming one aimed away from vital areas. I had no interest in going to prison. I just wanted them to taste real fear. Oliver, now focused and tense, tried to jump me. I'd been waiting. I pulled the trigger, and the deafening blast was followed by his terrified, agonized screams. He collapsed onto the floor, writhing, clawing at his face and scalp where the mix of salt and pepper shards bit into his flesh. His eyes burned like fire. It was excruciating pain, worse than any typical mace. Once he'd stopped thrashing so violently, I kicked his leg and stared at Megan. "Here's how this goes," I said. "In a minute, I'm leaving. You'll get this bastard to a hospital, no ambulance. You'll drive him yourselves, and you won't mention me. If you do, if you even think of blaming me, every piece of evidence I've collected, videos, pictures, phone calls, gets sent to Oliver's wife and every partner at your law firm. I've also set up a website that will automatically go public if you try anything. My name stays out of your mouth, understood?" They were both silent, horrified. Megan was crying, face ashen. Oliver was moaning in pain. "And one more thing," I added, locking eyes with Oliver. "You will not fire her. She'll need the paycheck after we divorce. If either of you tries to come after me, or if she refuses to sign the divorce papers, everything gets posted online. Now, get him to a doctor." I left the bedroom the same way I'd come in. I placed the weapon in my duffel and slung it over my shoulder, relatching the sliding door behind me. I hopped onto the electric bike, pedaled to the river, and tossed away the bat and rifle in separate spots, then ditched the gloves I'd worn. Finally, I went back to my office, locked the bike in my trunk, and strolled to my desk as if I'd never left. Around 9 o'clock p.m., I said goodnight to a couple of IT guys pulling a late shift. I had an airtight alibi if needed. Oliver wound up getting surgery. The doctors had to shave part of his head to stitch a large gash, and he was diagnosed with a concussion. His official statement to the hospital was that he vaguely recalled walking Megan to her door with some paperwork. Then, the next thing he remembered was waking up in a hospital bed. Megan backed him up, claiming she'd found him unconscious outside. Neither of them ever mentioned me or how Oliver was missing his clothes. Obviously, the story was fishy, but they knew exactly what was at stake. By the time I woke up next morning, I'd removed every camera and recorder from the house. I smashed all the physical devices but kept the digital files safe, fully encrypted. Later that evening, Megan walked into our living room, exhausted, looking like she hadn't slept in days. I sat on the couch with a bottle of bourbon on the coffee table. "Ben," she began, voice trembling. "I'm sorry for what you heard or saw, but it's not what you think. I wasn't in love with him." She sounded desperate. "You have to believe me. You know how I get after... I say things I don't mean. Oliver was just a distraction. I hated being alone when you traveled. It was never really about love." Tears glistened as she reached for my hands. "Please, Ben, you have to believe that." I stared, incredulous that she could use that excuse. "Megan," I finally said, "it doesn't matter anymore. I heard you loud and clear telling him you loved him. I watched you let him do things that were supposed to be just between us. 20 years, gone. I won't be the only one hurting. You brought this on yourself." She was sobbing. "What do we do now?" I locked eyes with her. "There is no we. It's over. I'll never understand why you did it, but you and Oliver can deal with the fallout together. Congratulations on throwing away our marriage, but don't worry, I won't expose your affair to everyone. It's your job to come up with a reason for the divorce. If you dare portray me as some villain, the recordings will go public. I'm putting our house on the market, and you're the one who's leaving. That's non-negotiable. Let me know where to send the paperwork. Sign it quietly, or you'll regret it." She broke down in tears, insisting she never truly loved Oliver, that she'd do anything for another chance. I wasn't listening anymore. The woman I'd cherished for half my life was gone to me. She had destroyed everything we'd built. She left that night to stay with her parents. The cops briefly tried to pin Oliver's injuries on me. I hired a lawyer who calmly said, "Unless you have real evidence, my client has nothing to say." With no physical proof or reliable eyewitness, they had no choice but to drop it. Officially, Oliver's injuries were labeled as the result of a home burglary gone bad. Megan and her family called constantly, begging me to reconsider, but I ignored them. I changed my phone number. As much as it tore my heart apart, I couldn't let my feelings weaken me. Every memory of her was tainted. She moved into a small apartment. She was 43, suddenly alone, and scraping by on her salary. No more beautiful home, no more comfortable life. Soon, her parents and Ella learned bits of the truth. They were furious, placing all the blame on Megan. Even Ella saw her in a different light, feeling ashamed and betrayed. Megan lost everything. Oliver, meanwhile, didn't stick around. At work, he distanced himself, barely acknowledging Megan even when forced to interact. He was resentful that their arrangement had led to so much drama, and eventually he had her reassigned to a menial, dead-end position. She kept her job only because I'd forced that condition, but she was miserable. Just another one of his cast-off flings, whispering rumors behind her back. Devastated, Megan spiraled into depression. She drank too much, lost weight, and fell into a state of constant regret. Her daughter tried to help, but there was no fixing the damage. Megan's new reality was bleak. "What's the point?" she'd say. "Life without Ben isn't worth living." Ella reached out to me, desperate. I told her I was sorry for her pain, but I wouldn't ever speak with Megan again or offer forgiveness. As for Oliver, his wife in turn made his life hell. She stayed with him. He had too much money and a reputation to protect, but she started dating whoever she wanted. He was humiliated, banished to a guest room in his own house, forced to keep paying every bill, while Stella basically did whatever she pleased. He had wealth, but no genuine love from anyone. And he couldn't come after me without risking the evidence going public. I had effectively won. But about a year after, I was jumped by a group of men outside a bar near Redwood Street. They beat me so viciously, I nearly lost my life. Luckily, my coworkers rushed outside in time. The assailants fled before the cops arrived, but I knew exactly who had sent them. Lying in the hospital with cracked ribs and 20 stitches, it only confirmed that Oliver was behind it. 6 weeks later, once I'd recovered enough to move around, I phoned his office. "Mr. James, please," I told the receptionist. "He's in a meeting. Can I take a message?" "Yes. Tell him to meet me at the Lakeside Cafe, Friday at 1 p.m., alone. Just say Ben asked. He'll know what it means." Friday came. I was seated at a corner table when Oliver walked in wearing a stiff expression. After a moment's hesitation, he sat across from me. "What do you want?" he hissed. I ignored his hostility. "You did a real job on me with those goons. Almost succeeded, but you couldn't finish the job apparently. I warned you not to come after me. Now I have to respond." I slid a folded paper across the table. "On this page is a link to a secure website. Don't bother hoping to take it down. It's hosted offshore with triple backup. Inside, you'll find about 2 hours of premium footage, your greatest hits." I blurred out Megan's face. She's suffered enough. "This is about you." He clenched his jaw. "You've already ruined my life. Why can't you just stop? Haven't you taken enough?" "I'm meeting you to make you a final offer," I explained calmly. "You destroyed 20 years of my marriage, then tried to kill me even after I gave you an out. So here's what happens next. First, you immediately end all retaliation. Against me, against Megan, against anyone connected to me. No more hired thugs, no more intimidation. Second, you wire me $1 million by Friday at 9 p.m. to the account number on the paper. Consider it a courtesy fee. If I pursued legal charges, it would cost you far more. Look at this as you buying me off. If you refuse, that website goes live Saturday morning. Your entire law firm, your wealthy friends, your kids, your wife, everyone will see your personal movie. You ended my life, Oliver. If you won't pay, you'll be haunted by the consequences forever." His shoulders tensed. "And if I do pay, how can I trust you not to release it anyway?" "You can't," I replied coolly. "You'll just have to take that risk. But if you refuse, I promise you it goes public." After a moment of seething silence, he agreed. The funds appeared by the deadline. Soon after, I finalized the sale of the house, and Megan and I divided our assets. She ended up with enough to live decently if she kept working, but her life never recovered. She never remarried, barely dated, and was consumed with remorse. Years slipped by, and her depression deepened. She no longer resembled the confident, radiant person I had once fallen in love with. In her late 40s, her health deteriorated further. By the time she turned 50, she was a shadow of her former self. She died alone, with only Ella by her side to scatter her ashes. As for me, I stayed employed for a few more years, then retired to a peaceful coastal town. Eventually, I remarried someone warm and caring who made me laugh, a woman I could connect with physically and emotionally. Still, it wasn't that once-in-a-lifetime love I'd felt with Megan in our early years. That love had been destroyed, and I couldn't get it back. I stayed close to Ella. She was the only real link to my old life. We spoke often, but she avoided mentioning her mother. She knew that wound had never fully healed. When I finally got the news that Megan had passed on, I felt sadness and relief intertwined. The hurt I'd carried for so long now had a kind of closure. In the end, I mourned the memory of the woman Megan used to be, even though she'd left me broken, and I never truly healed until that moment.